Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to deal with functions and pointers. So mainly pointers, and then how to deal with a regular variable when trying to pass it to a function, and also how to deal with arrays and strings. So as we know, like arrays and strings, they are already pointers, right? So the name of the array or the name of the string is a pointer to the first element in the array or the first character in this string. Okay, so today we are going to see how we deal with all of these when dealing with functions. Okay, so if we are dealing with functions, there are two ways of passing any value or reference to the function. So the first way actually is pass by value, and this is what we did before pointers. So the only thing I was doing is just having function and then pass the value. Let's say I have int a and b, and then I will just pass these a and b, the values of a and b to the function, right? And then the function will do whatever it's going to do and then returning a certain value. Finally, let's say b, right? Pass by reference is just the function with the value in the memory. Okay, so for example, let's say I have here A, I have here B. Okay, so if I'm dealing with pass by value, so I'm going to send to the function the value of A and B. Let's say this is 5, this is 7. So I'm going here to send 5 and 7. Okay, and then let's say this is OX F3, OX FE. Okay, so pass by reference, I'm going to send the address in the memory. So OXF3 and OXFE. Since I'm sending the address in the memory, then the function will go directly to the memory and change whatever value there, right? So in this case, I don't have to return anything from the function, right? Because I'm already changing the memory there, okay? But pass by value, I took the value from the memory, okay? Send it to the function. The function will do whatever it's going to do, which is, let's say, 5 plus 7, which is 12, and then return back to the main function. So in this case, we can return one value. But when passing by reference, I can just update any number of variables in the memory directly. Okay, so the main advantage here for pass by pointer or pass, let's say it in the right way, which is by reference, okay, because we are giving the address, which is the reference for the variable. In this case here, the main advantage that you can, let's not say return, but I can say update in the memory multiple values. Whatever the number of variables you want to update in the memory, you just send their address and do whatever you want to do in the function. But when we was using pass by value, which we had before pointers, okay, you can only return one value. This is why when I tell you, hey, can you change or swap two numbers, like let's say A equals to 5, B equals to 7, okay, can you swap so that A equals to 7, B equals to 5? Using a function, if you passed by value, I will say no. You will never be able to do that. Why? Because actually the only thing you have to do is returning one value only. But in this case, we want to return two values, not one, right? So you can't do it using pass by value. But you can do it using pass by reference, right? So in this case, you can just give the address of A, the address of B, and then based on that, you are going to change inside the function, change A instead of B and B instead of A, and that's it, right? So let's try to see an example. Before seeing the example, if you are going to do that, when you call the function, okay, you have to send the address of the first variable, the address of the second variable, right? The function declaration and whatever function you are going to write here, okay, you are going to use the value from the address you are sending, and here's the value from the address you are sending. Let's see an example for that. So going here, let's see, our example is here. So the first line we have, which is this one, just declaration, right? And in this declaration, it is a void function, its name is swap, and then it's having two pointer variables, which here, if you remember, this asterisk can be here or can be here. Both are 100%, right? Okay, it's based on your preference. And then after declaration, I have the main function and defining two regular variables, x and y, and then scanning these variables from the user. Okay, and then here I'm printing the two values before swapping, and then here I'm going to call the function which is called swap, sending the reference which is the address of x, the address of y. Why? Because I'm going to send to the function, hey, here's the address of x in the memory, here's the address of y in the memory. The function will play with the addresses in the memory to change the values, right? And then after that, we don't have to return anything from the function because we already changed the values in the memory, okay? And then after that, we are going to print again after swapping. So if you look to the function itself, how we implemented that, we used a temporary variable. Why you are going to use temporary variable? Because simply if you said asterisk a equals to asterisk b, in this case you will find that the value of b will be copied to the value of a, and you will not be able to get the value of a. This is why I'm just storing the value of a in temp, okay, and then put the value of b in a, okay, and all of that is happening in the memory, right? And finally get from temp the value of a, the old value of a, and put it in b. So finally I did the swap, and remember here I don't have to return anything because you already updated the memory, and returning back here you'll find that when printing x and y, you'll find that directly it will swap them. If it is 5 and 7, it will be 7 and 5. If you want to run this very quick, so gcc swap.c swap, and then swap, enter first number 5, enter second number 7. So it's saying it was 5 and 7, and then after swapping it's 7 and 5. Okay, so if we are dealing with an array and we want to pass it to a function, in this case you just need to pass the name of the array. What the meaning of that? If you have here the declaration of the array as int my array 24, okay, and 24 here is the number of elements, the only thing you have to do in the function, you have to just write the name of the array itself without any square brackets. Why you are doing that? Because if you remember, the name of the array is the address of the first element of the array, right? So I'm sending to the function the address of the first element in the array, and also sending how many elements we have. And by the way, this is optional, but it is very helpful if you are going to iterate in the function over all the elements of the array. Okay, so here we call it as arrays passed by reference, because we already are dealing with addresses, right? Again, arrays are already pointers, right? The name of the array is a pointer to the first element of the array, okay? So, but at the same time, if you want to pass by value, you can send element by element. So for example, here, this is a function which is called square, okay? And then my array of 3, this is just passed by value and sending the value of in the array of element in the index 3, just sending this value to the function. Okay, so this is the main difference. If you want to pass by a reference, you have to write the name of the array and that's it. And in this case, it's giving the address of the first element of the array. And if you want to go to any element in the array, you just need to write the name of the array plus 3, for example, or plus 5, whatever you want. Okay, so the function declaration or the prototype of the function, you just write void and then the name of the function. And here, this is the array. And as you can see, I have here this to indicate that, hey, I'm dealing with an array. Okay, so again, if you are calling the function, returning back here, this, we are using this here. Let me return back this here, calling the function. Okay, and then when declaring the function, okay, in this case, you are dealing with just square brackets without writing anything inside. Why I'm not writing anything there? Because already the compiler will deal with that. Even if you wrote any number inside, the compiler will deal with it. So you don't have to write anything. And again, this is the size of the array. And it's good practice actually to always send the size of the array. Okay, so here's an example. As you can see here, I have the declaration of my function, which is called the scan array. It's just scanning elements to any array. Okay, and then here I have void main void, and then int val int array equals to 1 2 3 4. Okay, and then calling this function. So when calling this function, I will just go directly here, right? From this call, I have here void scan array int val int array 4. Okay, and again, you can just leave this just square brackets. That's totally fine. And remember here, I just wrote the name without any brackets or anything, right? Just to send the address and that's it. Here, when going to the function, you will find that I'm just having telling the compiler that, hey, this function is accepting an array. This is why I have here the square brackets. And again, you can write 4 or you can just leave it without writing anything. And finally here, scanning in the first address, in the second address, in the third one, in the fourth one, and this will be returned back to the main function, and the same thing happening for another time and another time. Okay. Okay, so let's now see, like, for example, if the user entered 10, 33, 45, 7, this will go directly to the address in the memory, the address of this here, which, as you can see, the first element here, the second element, the third element, the fourth element. Okay, so these values will be there. And then if you go to the next implementation here, it will overwrite these values with the new values the user going to enter, and so on and so forth. Why? Because again, I'm sending the same address of the same array. So every time you are going to override the previous numbers that you already have. Okay, so until now we are dealing with 1D arrays, okay, one-dimensional arrays. So what if we are dealing with multiple dimension arrays? So in this case, let's say 2D arrays, you just have to know the following. Here, you have to write array and then the first dimension, which is the number of rows. You don't have to mention it, okay? But the number of columns, you have to mention it. So here, this is why it's n, and n is already declared here and initialized to 3, okay? And then finally, you can send to the array or to the function the number of rows, and this is optional. And this is mandatory. Okay. Okay. And then after that, you are doing whatever you are doing here. And remember, here you are sending the array, okay, by looking at the value which is coming from the array, right? This is why here I'm using array of I and j, okay? Can we change that here into a pointer? So can we send the array in a way that we are dealing with a pointer? Yes, you can do that. If you remember when we said before that, for example, I can say asterisk array, okay, so int asterisk array, and then when dealing here, you are going to get the value by having asterisk array and then getting the way you are going to write this. So how we are going to do it here, let's go just to the next slide, not to confuse you here. So in this case, you'll find that I will get the value. So this is saying I will get the value. Given that here you are sending the address, right? And then the value of what? If you look at your array, it is, as you can see here, it's 3 by 3, right? This is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So how I can adjust this part, which is I have to go over each element, right? So I have two nested loops for I equals to 0, I less than m, which is the number of columns, and then sorry, the number of rows, and then for j, and then j less than n, which is the number of columns. So in the first part here, when we are just dealing with the values, you are just having I and j and will control everything, and that's it. But here you have to make sure that you are jumping to the right address and then getting the value from there, right? This is why here we have array plus I plus multiplied by n. So let's take an example. Just to understand, this part is giving you the row. This part is giving you the column. Okay? And let's take an example. For example, when I equals to 0, then you have I multiplied by n, which is 0. And then array will give you the address of the first element here, 0, right? And then plus j. When j is 0, will give you this one, right? When j is 1, will give you this one. When j is 2, will give you this one, right? And then I now is 1, okay? And then I equals to 1. 1 multiplied by 3 will be 3 plus array, which is the address here. So in this case, it will be 0, 1, 2, 3. So it will go here. As you can see, array plus I multiplied by n, it just when I equals to 0, you will be here. When I equals to 1, you will be here. When I equals to 2, you will be here. Let's take I equals to 2 as an example. 2 multiplied by 3 is 6, right? 0 plus 6 is 6. You are going from this index to index 6. So you are just reaching here. And then incrementing j equals to 0, j equals to 1, j equals to 2. So this is how to do it. It's somehow, I know it's not easy to understand it, but at the same time you can just deal with the arrays in the regular way, but just taking the values of the array or dealing with the arrays with the pointers, and in this case you have to make sure that you are jumping based on the addresses. The last thing we are going to cover today is just having strings and sending it to functions. And strings here are, as we said before, special case of arrays. So we are dealing with the strings in the same way as arrays. Okay, so let's see an example here, the last example we have. So here is, as you can see, we are having a function. Okay, and this function is, let's say, without this also. Let's take off these two. So without these two, this function is just having to print the string it is receiving, right? So here in the main function, and then char, and then having initial of the string, which is Salim, and then finally sending this string to the function. And remember here, there is no AND. Why there is no AND? Because the string already an address to the first character, right? So this is why I'm sending here the address. And then here, char, and then a string, and then again, the square brackets saying, hey, remember, this is an array. Why? Because the array is part of the string, right? So it's a special case of I'm sorry, the string is a special case from an array, right? This is why every time you are putting this here, you are telling the function, hey, there is an array coming to you, okay? And then here, simply printf string is, and then finally printing the string. And again, this is the address, right? I'm sending the address of the string. It will go to the address first element, and then percentage %s will tell the compiler, hey, print the whole string until the null character. Okay. So here you can add whatever you want to add. So for example, I was writing here, let's say string copy, and then I will have str, which is my pointer string, and then here. So this means that I'm going here to overwrite the string that I have, which is Salim, and I will put instead Muhammad, right? And then finally I'll print Muhammad. So saving this and going here to run, not swap, we have string. Okay, so in this case it printed Muhammad. If I just took this away and save, run again, it will print Salim, right? Also, you can just play here with the string. For example, if I want to change the second character in the string, in this case, since I commented this part, my string is Salim, right? If I want to change the second character in the string, in this case, I will do the following. Since I want to the second character, I want to increment the pointer to go to the next character, right? So I will do the following. Oops. Okay. Returning back here. String. Okay. +1. This is here. I'm doing the following. I'm getting the address of the first character and adding 1. So I'm going to the second character, right? And then putting asterisk here. Please go to the asterisk. Yes. This will say, okay, I'm targeting the value of this character in the string, right? And then finally I'll write this. This means that take this character and put it regarding this address, update the value there, right? The address here is string, okay, which is giving the address of the first character, and then +1 will give the address of the second character, which here supposed to change this E to A. So in this case, it's instead of printing Salim, is going to print Salim, right? So saving here and going back to, and finally it printed Salim. Okay, so again, when you are dealing with arrays or strings, here send the address, which is the name of or name of the string, and here just put the string or the array with just empty square brackets. Put it because the compiler will understand that, hey, there's an array coming to, or the address of an array coming to this function. Okay, so this is the last thing we have. Thanks very much for watching.